So thank you for all of you for attending this important press conference on pharma. But before we get to that, I do want to make reference to the fires that are raging in Northern California. I've declared an emergency to free up additional resources to fight fires in Napa, Sonoma, and Yuba counties. This is really serious. It's moving fast. The heat, the lack of humidity, and the winds are all driving a very dangerous situation and making it worse. We're getting mutual aid from local counties and other parts of the country, so other states are sending their engines and all the resources they have. So serious business. We're watching it. It's not under control by any means, but we're on it in the best way we know how. So with that, I think we'll start our program. Anthony Wright, Executive Director of Health Access America.
Good morning. My name is Anthony Wright. I'm the Executive Director of Health Access California. We're the statewide healthcare consumer advocacy coalition. This is a big deal bill. Today is a big deal for consumers who've been clamoring for action to address high prescription drug prices, which they are reminded of every time they go to a pharmacy, every time they see a headline about outrageous and unexplained price hikes. While Congress this year considered catastrophic proposals to cut coverage and care, we are proud that California, our legislature, and today our governor are taking tangible, positive steps to help patients and purchasers with prescription drug prices and setting national policy in the process. With Governor Brown's signature today, no longer will pharmaceutical companies get to hike prescription drug prices by double digits without any notice or explanation. This is not just transparency for transparency's sake. This is transparency with teeth. One, prescription drug companies will think twice about raising prices over the threshold that triggers additional reporting. Two, purchasers will have advance notice and information to better bargain for better rebates or to adjust their formularies accordingly. And three, state and local policymakers and the public will have the data to better inform further action on prescription drug prices. We hope this victory provides not just information, but momentum for policymakers in California, other states, and in Washington to take the additional steps to control healthcare costs. We thank Governor Brown, Senator Hernandez, Assemblyman Wood for their leadership in California's remarkable progress on healthcare over these past several years and for this important next step. This bipartisan bill was also possible because of the great organizing and advocacy work of the staff of Health Access California, our co-sponsors at the California Labor Federation, the Unite Here, and the broad coalition of supporters, including groups often on opposite sides, patient advocates and insurers, labor unions and employers, Democrats and Republicans. And so let me introduce you to one of those in this remarkable coalition, somebody I don't get to introduce a lot, which is the President and CEO of Blue Shield of California, Paul Markovic.
Thank you, Anthony. Nonprofit Blue Shield of California aspires to create a healthcare system that's worthy of our family and friends and sustainably affordable. The biggest barrier to providing high-quality healthcare today is cost. Having the best breakthrough treatments and medications in the world is meaningless if the average Californian can't afford to access them. The most recently reported median income for a California family of four is just shy of $65,000 a year, and is growing at about 3% a year. And yet it's now common for new drugs to be introduced that cost more than $65,000 for a course of treatment and increase every year at dramatically higher rates than 3%. In fact, pharmacy spending has been by far the fastest growing healthcare cost for the past 3 years, and all indications are that it will continue to do so for the foreseeable future. The question we've been unable to answer up until this point is why? Senate Bill 17 requires pharmaceutical companies to do what hospitals and health plans have been required to do for years: provide basic data to answer this question for both the most expensive prescription drugs and those whose prices are increasing at the fastest rate. The pharmaceutical industry has been telling us that these prices and price increases are required to maintain investments in research and development and continue breakthrough innovations. Yet the data available to us indicates that for years, research and development investments are declining as a percentage of pharmaceutical companies' revenue. Thanks to Senate Bill 17, we will find out the real answers to a vexing question: why do prescription drugs cost so much? Thank you, and I'd like to invite to the stage Art Pulaski, Executive Secretary Treasurer, California Labor Federation. Art. Thanks.
Thank you, Paul. I'm president of the nonprofit Blue Shield. Noteworthy. I'm Art Pulaski with the California Labor Federation. We commend the governor for signing this bill today. It's a very important bill because it addresses the transparency of prescription drugs. We've learned that a lot of these companies use price-setting mechanisms that are unknown to the real world. They don't base it on the cost of the drugs. They base it on, which would include research and development, even advertising and production. They base it on the sky's the limit, how much they can squeeze out of the consumer. Well, a lot of the consumers, most of the consumers are working families and retirees, and they can't afford health care anymore. Classic choice between food and their meds. And so that's why unions led the fight to start this bill off. And the broad coalition that we developed as a result of that is the best I've seen ever in a tough bill like this. Companies, consumers, doctors, hospitals, insurance companies. That's what it took. We all stood by Senator Hernandez, the author of the bill, who took a lot of heat to keep this bill going and did a great job. We want to acknowledge him for that. Excuse me. So this bill is the best bill of its kind in the country. In fact, it's the only bill of its kind in the country because Pharma's been able to successfully kill it every place else with our money. And so we want to thank again Dr. Hernandez for his great work. And this is the bill that starts it off. California again leads the way, and we hope the rest of the country will follow. Thank you very much. The next to speak is Jack Ribbon, who is the political director for Unite Here, the Union of California.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be very brief. I don't want to repeat anything that anybody's already said about the importance of the details of this bill. There are two other issues, I think, that haven't been mentioned yet and need to be underscored. First and foremost is having an administration that really cares about policy is something that we enjoy in California and is why we have another proud day in California. The enormous help from Secretary Dooley's office with respect to technical assistance and ensuring that this was budget neutral through its implementation was extraordinary and very, very helpful. The final thing, though, is as we look at issues, all kinds of issues, healthcare being one of the most important ones in life, but issues like what's happened in Las Vegas over the week, issues about climate change that people want to ignore, we know how to get past the deadlocks. All of the different groups that were involved in this project, all of them coming together, we took on and we defeated the trillion-dollar industry that people told us, don't even bother, it's never going to happen. It's the grassroots, it's the knocking on doors, it's labor, it's the MS Society, it's all of that. And I'm very, very proud to have been a part of it, and thank you very much. I want to introduce Assemblymember Jim Wood, who was a co-sponsor of the bill.
Thank you very much. I'd like to thank the sponsors and Senator Hernandez for their tenacious work on this particular issue. Escalating drug costs are an immediate crisis that needs solutions, and I applaud the governor for recognizing this and being here to sign SB 17 today. It's important to note, for the first time, drug costs are rising faster and take up more of the healthcare dollar than what we pay doctors. It is really significant. The senator's dedication to in fighting escalating drug costs has inspired others to delve deeper into these issues, and as you saw this year in the legislature. And drug prices are rising at a rate faster than anything else in healthcare. So it's not just the doctors, but it's the rising cost. But our work is not done. It's actually just beginning. This is a huge, important step. I thank Senator Hernandez for leading the charge on this. It's an honor to work with him through this process and all of the sponsors who worked here. I want to thank everyone who's here today, but I'd like to introduce Mayor Heather Fargo, former mayor of Sacramento.
Good morning. I am really pleased to be here today on behalf of the National MS Society. As you can probably tell, I have something wrong, and my drug of choice, or my disease of choice, is MS. And I am one of the people who is really impacted, or could be impacted, by the high price of drugs and the lack of transparency that we are all faced to deal with today. The drug that I take an MS disease-modifying drug, as everyone with MS is encouraged to do. Just a few years ago, these drugs were less than $10,000 a year. The drug I take is now $91,000 a year. Fortunately, I have insurance. But what that means is my insurance company, which happens to be through California PERS, is paying for that drug, which means that it's very hard for the state of California to deal with the increases in health insurance and to be able to provide insurance to people and to be able to do that on behalf of so many of us that are dealing with chronic diseases. This is not a one-year choice. This is a lifetime commitment to trying to stay as active as I can. And there are people who don't have insurance. There are people that are forced to no longer be able to deal with the progression of MS because they don't have insurance and they can't afford the amount of money that it takes to pay for this kind of insurance. The average now is about $85,000 a year. And what happens is, as soon as a new drug is developed, it comes out at a certain price. All of the drugs then raise their price to that limit. Even the generic is now costing as much as $85,000 a year. It's ridiculous, it's outrageous, and it's unfair not only to the patients, but to the taxpayers and to the entire system. If we're going to get a handle on healthcare costs, we have to deal with this. This bill by Senator Hernandez and soon to be signed by Governor Brown is really a landmark bill for us here, and it is the first in the nation. I'm proud to be part of California, a state which is continuing to take the lead in all kinds of things, and this is just one more thing that we're doing that hopefully the rest of the nation will follow soon. With that, I would like to introduce the Honorable Senator Pro Tem Kevin De Leon. Please come forward.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I also want to echo the statements from our governor, Governor Jerry Brown, with regards to the fires both in Sonoma as well as Napa. I want to express my solidarity to the people of this region. I want to make sure that the Senate stands firm and available to help in any resources that are necessary to help the governor, to help the people of this specific region. I have been in touch with Senators Bill Dodd as well as Mike McGuire, both senators from Napa as well as Sonoma counties. Senator Dodd's home, he's been evacuated, obviously, and the hospitals, Kaiser Permanente as well as Sutter hospitals have been evacuated as well. As the governor just mentioned, there's 15 miles per hour wind right now that are making it very difficult for the people of this region to know that we stand in solidarity with each and every one of them. And again, that the Senate stands firmly in support of the governor, and we're prepared to help in any way possible. To Anthony, to Paul, to Art, I want to thank you very much for your incredible support since the nascent stage of this measure. To the chairman of the Assembly Health Committee, Jim Woods, I want to thank you very much for helping shepherd this measure in the Assembly. I want to thank you very much on behalf of the Senate. And I'm going to share a few words about Dr. Ed Hernandez in a few moments. But today we are proving once again that we can take on any issue and succeed to improve the lives of everyday Californians, no matter what special interests stand in the way, including the pharmaceutical industry. Skyrocketing prescription drug prices literally affect many lives, where families have to choose whether to pay for food or pay for what can be life-saving medication. Thank you to the fearless leadership of Dr. Ed Hernandez. Californians will have much more transparency into how drug prices are determined, creating a real sense of accountability for an industry that has worked in the shadows for way too long. A very special thank you on behalf of the Senate, Dr. Ed Hernandez, for being so relentless, for being so committed, for your resiliency in making sure that you get this measure across this finish line. As Art just mentioned a few moments ago, this is, I believe, the first measure of its kind nationwide, but it's the best of its kind as well. And it's our hope that we can export these policies nationwide and that other states will follow suit and look at how sensible transparency makes sense for everyday consumers throughout the country. Again, Sacramento is proving where we will lead, where the folks in Washington, D.C. won't. Now, it's my special honor, it's my privilege to introduce my chair of the Senate Health Committee, someone who's been with me since day one, since our days of the Assembly when we came in together. Your resiliency, your tenacity has proven once again why you're one of the finest senators in California. With that, I want to bring to the stage Dr. Ed Hernandez. Dr. Ed Hernandez.
Well, first of all, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much. Kevin has truly been a friend. We ran together in 06, started in the Assembly in 07. We've had a great time here serving the people in the great state of California. So I want to thank you for your leadership as my pro tem, and we've done some great things together. I'd like to first start off by commending and thanking Governor Brown for what he has done for the state. He has been a leader not only in healthcare, but in water, in transportation, in education. He truly has taken a leadership role in the entire country. And it's been an honor serving with Governor Brown. And when I got elected to the Senate, he got elected as governor, and I'm going to finish my term as Senate, and he unfortunately is going to finish his term as governor. So I also want to thank the governor for signing SB 17. This has been a hard-fought bill. I've had some great partners in Assemblymember Wood, Assemblymember Chu. But I will tell you, though, this coalition that came together was like no other I have ever seen and been involved with. And I think this coalition is as strong as it is because the people of this state and this country have spoken. They're concerned about the cost of their health care, and this is one segment of it that is affecting it. It's a coalition of consumer groups, of labor, of business, of health plans, next gen. It is a great, great coalition that I've never seen before. But I will tell you, once this bill gets signed, I believe it will be one of the most comprehensive bills in the country. But I have a challenge. I want to challenge our federal elected officials, our U.S. state senators, to do the same thing at the national level so that we can make sure that every single person in this country not only has access to health care, but that they can afford their health care premium dollars so that they could make a living, get higher wages. We have to make this a priority, not in California, but in this country. Before I introduce Governor Brown, I just want to say a few things in Spanish. Quiero decir, es un buen día, bueno aquí, en este estado, en los Estados Unidos, que vamos a poder bajar los precios de las drogas para gente que van a trabajar duro aquí, pueden poder pagar por sus medicinas y tener esos beneficios. And with that, it is proud to introduce our governor, my governor, and I'm honored that he's going to sign my bill, SB 17, the great governor of the state of California, Governor Brown. Let's give him a round of applause.
Well, you all have the credit here. This is not the product of one person. It's a lot of people and a lot of working together with a very progressive group of leaders here in the state capitol. A lot of good people at the staff level. So they're all working, and we're getting stuff done. The essence of this bill is pretty simple. Californians have a right to know why their medical costs are out of control, especially when the pharmaceutical profits are soaring. That's the takeaway message. But I want to put this in a broader context. As we look to Washington, as we look throughout our country, even beyond our borders, the social and political fabric is being ripped apart. The inequities are growing. The rich are getting richer, the powerful are getting more powerful, and a growing number of people are getting more desperate, more alienated, and the reaction in hostility to institutions, lack of all being in it together is intensifying. So this is just another example where the powerful get more power and take more. And what I have to say to the pharmaceutical companies, yes, you are part of this great engine of creativity and innovation and productivity. That's the good. But the bad is that given this technology and given the global market, fewer and fewer people at the top are getting more and more. And the pharmaceutical leaders are not alone. Wherever we look, we're finding a few people, maybe getting a little more than a few, but they've got the lion's share, and people don't like it, and they're mad as hell. Now, I think some of them voted for what they thought might have changed it. It turned out to be just more of the same. I won't be any more specific, but you can read your paper this morning. Now they're talking about possible World War III. I mean, this is serious stuff. But this measure is a step at bringing transparency, truth, exposure to a very important part of our lives. That is the cost of prescription drugs. Really important. And the battle here, and the reason why you have labor, you have activists, you have a chief executive, this is what we need. We got to work together. And to mobilize people, we often have to point to the evils. Well, we got to point to the evils. And there's a real evil when so many people are suffering so much from rising drug profits. But on the other hand, we are all part of America, and we've got to rein in people and wake them up. So my message to the pharmaceutical companies who oppose this bill, you got to join with us. You're part of America, and if we don't all pull together, we're going to pull apart. And currently, we're pulling apart more than we're pulling together. So this is a bill where a lot of people pull together, and that's all to the good. We have a lot more things. The agenda is very big. The cause is profoundly important. And so we got a lot more to do here. So let's not talk about term limits. Let's talk about coalition and courage and taking on the powerful, all right? So we